Welcome to the AI Effect, the show for small business owners who are ready to move beyond quick hacks and actually build smarter, more resilient businesses with AI. We'll talk honestly about what's working, what's a mess, the risks you really need to know about, and the simple experiments that create real results. I'm Tara Elzingre, an AI strategist and digital tool trainer, and my job is to make this feel doable, not daunting. Let's begin now.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of The AI Effect. My name is Tara Elzingre and I'm an AI strategist and digital tool trainer. And I'm really excited to be starting this podcast with you, learning from you, as well as sharing some tips and insights into the world of AI. Now, today we're going to be discussing why 9 in 10 businesses are already using AI, whether they're aware of it or not. And I want to tell you a little bit more about my own background first. For those who don't know me again, my name is Tara. I'm Irish, sitting here in the beautiful County Kerry. And my journey into AI is a bit of a roller coaster. Back in 2007, when I started in college, I studied philosophy and psychology. And while everyone joked about not being able to get a job in the philosophy factory, it ended up being more useful for my career now than I ever imagined. And that was because I studied the ethics of AI back then. And it is really striking for me every time I think about some of those lectures I had where my professor would talk about how we needed to start setting out rules and boundaries for when AI would come into effect 20 years ago, and to see how we're really scrambling to set some of those policies in place that are really going to protect people, protect businesses, and so on and so forth. So, as I said, it's been an absolute journey. I came out at the height of the recession and continued on instead working in retail, where I progressed really, really quickly, looking after millionaire stores, managing people, and working really, really long hours. And when I got pregnant and had my first child, unfortunately, the hours meant it was really hard to get childcare. So I decided to leave my job in retail and find a job with recruitment after studying office management. And this was my first real office job, where I was sitting down and part of a global think tank where we were really trying to change how recruitment happened globally. And it was a really exciting role within the tech industry and really helped me to understand the different nuances within this industry as well. In 2020, I had my second baby, and after returning from maternity leave in 2021, we found ourselves yet again without efficient childcare. And so, unfortunately, I was once again forced to give up my position, and I went and I sought a career coach about my different options and different ways forward. This career coach really did change the trajectory of my life and really opened my eyes to some of the deep seated beliefs I had about how a mom is meant to work in today's world. And it really did kind of, I suppose, open up my eyes to a few challenges that women had in particular around childcare. And because, again, it was the year 2021 when a lot of things were still happening at home, there was a big shift to working at home. A lot of businesses were changing their perspective on work life balance. It was a time for me to start my own business and follow in the footsteps of my two very entrepreneurial parents, who I'd sat at the table with many a night, answering and looking at different problems in different ways that people maybe didn't consider before. So it was a very scary journey to start my own business in 2021. And I set up a company called Perrine, where I was supporting working parents and particularly moms in business who were trying to find and strike that balance like I was. And it was here that I started to put a lot of my systems in place and started to really understand the small business world and the challenges that came with the new technologies that were coming out. In January of 2023, I held a lunch and learn about ChatGPT with Enterprise Nation. And this went viral overnight and really, again, was another pivotal moment within my career. And I found myself being asked to do more and more talks about ChatGPT and about AI in general, and was even invited to the AI Summit in London to be a speaker. From here, while I was still keeping up with Green, I found myself being drawn more and more to the world of AI and being asked to be a speaker about AI. And in this time, I started to realize that I had this really good ability to explain the technology to people in a very simplistic way, as well as explaining the business user cases of it. So it was in this time between 2023 and 2025 that I really started to realize I had such a unique perspective that would really help open up the eyes to people about the impact AI was having on the world, on their own businesses, and even in our own personal lives. And this comes from the early days of my education into the ethics of AI and listening and talking to people and that background in psychology, learning about neuropsychology and how thought works. We talk about AI thinking, and there's this really big fear of where AI is going and what happens when it starts to think for itself. And so I really want to help to share my perspectives on this, take a lot of the learnings I've had over the past almost 20 years with AI, as well as all the learnings I've had from working with businesses to help you understand and navigate this world a bit better. So, welcome to the AI Effect. I really want to hear from you. There is a form in the description. Please share your questions, your insights, anything you would like to see happening in this podcast. I'd really love to hear your perspective. If there's any interesting guests you think I should get in touch with, I really want to make this a journey for all of us. So let's get started. So, why are 9 out of 10 businesses using AI? Well, I would say that there are a lot of businesses that are using AI in a very passive way. They're not even aware of how AI is working in the background. And to bring this to light, I wanted to talk about a few different ways AI might be in your business without you even really noticing it. So, AI has existed in the background for many, many years in different ways, and it is very much an umbrella term. And if you'd like me to maybe talk a little bit about more about that, please do comment below, and I'm happy to get into it. But some of the ways that AI is in our business in a very, I suppose, real sense on a daily basis would be grammar corrections. Grammarly being one of the most popular tools out there for grammar corrections. But now we're seeing that software existing within Microsoft, within Google, and now even predictive text coming in with this as well. And sometimes even correcting it, unfortunately, to a more an Americanized version of things, or starting to learn about the different way cultures bring in things as well. But grammar corrections definitely been one that has been around for quite some time. Email spam filters is another way that AI detects what emails are coming in and helps us sort through in the background by recognizing those patterns within your email and sorting out your email for you. Predictive analytics, and I'm a big one for data driven insights into your business as well. So if you're using things like Google Analytics, uh, you know, SEMrush or any of those other companies to start looking into your own business to do market research or competitive analysis, then there is a really real possibility that there is AI involved in the back end of the tools you're using there. Fraud detection, one of the main ways that financial institutions detect fraud within your online bank at the moment, there is a possibility that AI is working in the end. And lastly, recommendation engines use AI in the background as well to notice patterns within the area that you're living in, within your own search history, to help detect what recommendations it should give you. And this is another example of how you may be using AI in your business on a daily basis. So these are the ways that I would consider you are potentially using AI in a passive way without maybe even realizing it. Even though we've been using tools like ChatGPT since 2023, I still fear that there is a lot of confusion about what AI is. And the 5 different ways that I mentioned AI could potentially be working in the back end of your business, maybe a lot of people are not even aware that this is where AI is working in their business. And they think of AI as the robotic sounding content, the AI generated videos that are going viral, or maybe even just the algorithms themselves. And so, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast. It's really hard for us as humans to perceive things that are unquantifiable. So, when AI is so big, it's very easy for us to start thinking about the ways that we can understand it in the world. And that's why that content creation is one of the possibly easiest ways we look at it. And so, this is where I wanted to speak first about it. AI is working in the background of your business, but are you even aware of how it's potentially processing your data, how your business is potentially secure, or what risks are you posing for your business with all this passive AI working in the background without your awareness that it is a potential AI that is using your material to train its algorithms and what it is potentially learning about your business? And to really kind of nail this home, I wanted to talk about time when I was giving a talk down in Tipperary, and we had this beautiful group of ladies who were starting to learn from me about what AI was. And she shared this example about how she'd been using Copilot, but she didn't want to talk and share her own personal details with Copilot. So she decided instead of using her real name to use the name Mary and say that Mary was the owner of her flower shop. And so Copilot created this lovely post about Mary's flower shop for her. And at the end said, "Is this right?" And gave her actual name. Let's pretend for this scenario it's Linda. And Copilot answered, "Do you like this, Linda?" So Copilot already knew her name, but because she was trying to protect her own personal data from Copilot, she called Mary to protect her own data. She thought she was doing a very clever thing by saying Mary was the owner of the flower shop. But let's think about the different possibilities of where that could go wrong. In a legal setting, if she had continued to say that Mary was the owner of the flower shop and AI was being trained on this misinformation, where could things potentially go wrong for Linda in this scenario? So these are the kind of questions I really do want to dive into in this podcast. And I'd really love to hear what you think. Where are the possibilities things could go wrong for Linda in the future if she continued to call Mary and say that Mary owned the flower shop? Now, I want to give you a really interesting statistic here. So, while 81% of SMB leaders believe AI can help achieve their business goals, only 27% report that AI is regularly discussed in company wide strategic planning. And this is another insight I have come to while I'm supporting SMEs myself and SMBs. We are really, really slow to start talking about it and start planning on it because we're still waiting to see where things are going. We're more focused on what tool is better than the actual strategy behind it. And so when I start working with people and looking at the different ways that they can start using AI in their business, there are three major areas that you could start putting it into your business and start looking at it strategically. Now, in a few minutes, I'm going to be sharing with you my recommendation on how you could potentially start strategically looking at implementing AI in your business, whether you have a small team, you're a solopreneur, or you have been in business for maybe 10 years plus and have some systems into it. But before we go there, I want to have a look again at the problem that we are facing with AI and why potentially people are reluctant to start having these conversations. It's using AI within your business. If you're going to actually start to strategically adopt it in the way that I'm talking about, reskilling your team, it costs money upfront as well as costing time. So there can be a bit of reluctance there when there are not a whole lot of support cases out there that show a really strong ROI, or at least they're not being talked about. We're seeing a lot of different headlines that are coming out that are potentially showing 70% adoption rates. When you start looking at the actual success stories, they follow a very simple pattern, which is what I'm going to be sharing with you here today. With AI, we expect things almost instantaneously. And that's not how businesses work. And so, even though you want to start adopting AI into your business, we can't expect it to magically work overnight. We really do need to have a look at the different habits, the different cultures within the business in itself, and the different value sets that are out there, and work with all of these in order to implement AI in a more strategic way. If we're trying to just build out or add tools to potentially broken systems or legacy systems that are eventually going to end up breaking down because of the use of AI, it's simply not going to work. If we're focusing too much on the tools instead of the habits, instead of the culture, instead of the values around it, that's where things start to break and break down. So here's where I have seen things work. When we look at some of the headlines with AI, we're seeing the fear mongering that goes on with the clickbait headlines, such as the loss of jobs, the loss of community, and even the death of creativity is not giving the full picture of where AI is at today. And instead of letting people educate themselves on AI, it's creating this fear that they do not even want to touch it. It's causing all this confusion and it is stalling people from actually accepting it or trusting it in a way that is going to allow them to explore the real opportunities and risks it is posing for their business. Without understanding how AI works and by ignoring it, we're ignoring the fact that AI, as we talked about at the start, is already in your business. There's 9 out of 10 business owners already using AI in their business, whether they are aware of it or not. So we need to start setting out policies and procedures on how we're using this securely, safely, and ethically in the ways that we want to. When I studied personal leadership and executive coaching with Kingstown College, I came across the CIA method, which has followed me and I continue to use today. And that is, what can you control? What can you influence? And what can you accept? And I want you to take a moment when it comes to AI and think about this for yourself. What can you control? You can control where you are exposing your data to. You can control where your data is stored, whether it is within the EU or is it in the US. You can control what tools you are using. What can you potentially influence? Well, we actually all have the power right now to influence the different ways that AI is going to be integrated into our society. But we can only do that if we start learning more about it and building out our own AI literacy. These are the different areas that you can influence. You can look at the different opportunities and the risks that are there with AI and start to understand. And what can you accept? What can you accept in terms of your data being shared globally? Or if you choose to not use AI and the choice is yours, what can you accept in terms of how you're going to grow your business in the world of AI? How are you going to move forward with your business? And if the strategy is to keep AI out of your business, how do you intend to do that? What can you accept? So, what can you control? What can you influence? And what can you accept in the world of AI today? So, because only 27% are actively speaking about how to implement AI in a strategic way within their business, we're finding that there is a lot of shadow AI happening. Now, shadow AI is when employees are potentially using generative tools independently without guidance, policies, or safeguards, without creating that AI strategy. Now, when the EU AI Act came into effect last year, this could potentially be detrimental for a lot of companies who, instead of building out these policies for the world that we're in now, are telling their employees not to use AI. And so instead, these employees are using their own personal chat GPTs with potentially business sensitive information. They're not giving their employees access to the tools that could potentially grow revenue for their company. And so, but the world has moved on and these employees are training themselves up on it. So it could be exposing businesses to a lot of different security issues. And that's where the shadow AI comes into it. So I really do encourage you to think about where your business is going with AI. It is not a problem that you can leave until tomorrow. Yes, it is going to take some time and money investment, but start learning about what ROI you can potentially get for it later down the line. It's time to focus on the measurable value of AI, the revenue growth, the margin expansion, customer experience differentiation, speed to the market, or operational resilience. What goal can you potentially look at and focus on for implementing AI within your company? Organizations following structured implementation approaches demonstrate 3.7 times higher successful AI deployment rates than those pursuing ad hoc strategies. So, as an AI strategist, here are the steps I take to help them implement a safe, secure, and ethical strategy. First, we look at what is possible within their business and what resources they want to commit and in what timeline are they willing to give up those resources. Remember, it does demand changes to business processes, potentially employee training, and often potentially even operating models that you're using within the business. To share some insights with this, I've been working with a travel agency who was overwhelmed with the amount of inquiries they were getting in, with a fraction of those turning out into actual bookings. The people who were inquiring about their services did not always have the budget to match the services. We built out a lead qualification process that was using the data the company had built up over the last 10 years that has saved almost 60% of man hours simply by being able to qualify the leads in a more effective way for that business. Now, this did not again happen overnight. It took almost 6 months to get to that point of saving those 60% hours. And it's still an ongoing process of tweaking and building. And we're still learning every day from this. But how we got there was by looking at the problem, understanding the different tools that they're currently using, the different ways that their customers are interacting with them, really building out using those data driven insights and then coming up with a solution, not looking at the tool first, looking at the problem. So take a look at your current bottlenecks within your business. Have a look and see where the biggest potential area you could save time, money, or create a better impact for your customers. Assess and start discovering the different features that you may already have in the background without even realizing it. we are potentially paying for tools like Google Workspace and not really utilizing the full impact there. Do you require more training within this area? Would you be better off building out a strategy or working with somebody to help you to move that business forward with those tools? So build a strategy and define the AI use within your company. And then start building your foundation. Once again, I'm going to focus on that word habit. I want you to start taking a look at your own habits, the values within the company, as well as the culture that's around it, and start thinking about the different ways you're going to start using AI to reach the goal that you have set out to solve that problem. By taking a look at the values, your habits, and the culture, you can start implementing AI in an incremental fashion. Don't try and take off more than you can chew. You do not need to change your entire operation system. Maybe it's just one workflow you need to tackle within that operation system and then start scaling implementations from there. Each of these new workflows has the potential to change the way you think about things or approach things. Or maybe it's going to end up being a different experience for your customer. Biting off more than you can chew means you're not going to have the clear data to find out if it actually is successful or not as well. And it's always about continuous improvement. Maybe it didn't work properly the first time. Make sure you have some form of audit logs to help you understand where the problem potentially is and where you can go again in the future. So remember, this is not about upskilling, it is actually about reskilling, whether it is yourself or your employees. This is a future that your business is currently living in. Unfortunately, it is up to all of us now to educate ourselves about AI. It is in the world, it's going to be there for our children. It is changing the dynamic of so many different things. So, whether you choose to use it or not, be aware of what AI is. In future episodes, we're definitely going to delve into a little bit more about what is AI. And I'm going to be sharing with you things like my think, talk, train method. But I really am so glad that you were here today. And I really do hope you continue to listen and enjoy and plug in. Comment, tell me what your insights are from today's session. What were your biggest takeaways? And yeah, until next time, take care.
AI is already inside your business. The real change happens when you start using it on purpose. If this conversation was helpful, follow the AI effect. Leave a short review and share this episode with someone who's figuring this out alongside you. I'm Tara Elzingre, and I'm back soon with more real talk on what's working, what's breaking, and how to make AI